Yo, 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 it's Mark, Top G Hockey. You don't have a low confidence problem, you have a fear issue, okay? And in this video, I'm going to yap about why you are playing in fear, why you're overthinking, why you're getting anxious before some games, why some of you are freezing up in games and spiraling down and getting so hard on yourself and down on yourself, why some of you overall are just playing way too much in your goddamn heads. You're fighting the ice, you're doubting yourself, and why this is a consistent thing for you in your performance and you get so up and down, high and low, all that jazz. Maybe you're worried and stressed about points. And some games you're fucking Davo or Makar and you feel like that dude, you feel like him. And other games you're decent. And then some games, maybe half of your games or less, you're a fucking ghost on the ice. And then that actually affects you, okay? And at the core, this is the main thing holding you back from getting your ticket, your commitment to NCAA, D1, D3, getting your foot into pro if you're an older guy, tier 1, tier 2 if you're a younger guy, right? This is the reason holding you back from you excelling to other levels. Now, nervous system about how you feel about playing in other leagues, how you feel if you're worthy, that's something for a different video. For this video, we're going to keep it simple on the things that are actually holding you back subconsciously. And yeah, also for some of you guys who are like pro, like this is the things that are stopping you from signing a higher deal, right? From performing even higher so you can make even more money. I'm Mark Sherman. I'm a professional hockey player. I'm actually recording this video in Minsk, Belarus. I play out of the Extra Liga in Belarus under the KHL. And yeah, I'm going to go over kind of who I am very briefly, why you should listen to me, and kind of like who I've helped. Because I've worked with about 100 people the last year and a half on all these issues. I've gathered so many data points. I've figured out so many things, and I've helped so many people excel to the highest level to get NCAA commitments, save their family $300,000 in tuition, sign pro contracts, all that jazz. At the core, okay, this is a low confidence. This is not a low confidence issue. Okay, some of you guys might think, oh, it's low confidence. Yes, okay, yes, technically you have low confidence. You're not believing in yourself, all that jazz. But right, sometimes you don't have a lack of confidence, you just have a fear issue. So we're gonna go over why that is today. Some of you playing like this in this feeling where you're a ghost, you feel like you're always in your head, you feel like you can't really do anything. You've frozen yourself, you've beaten yourself up so bad on the bench that you have completely taken yourself out of the game, and then there's a point where you can't even recover in the game with self-talk or something like that. So could be 50% for your games, could be more, but for the general guy, right, it's about 50% or lower, okay? So this is a wake-up call for you. And if it's anywhere from like 15 to 40% and you get in that bad spiral, it's still an issue for you, and you notice how it affects you for games after. You notice that games after, the day after, right, where you're not even playing and you have school, you just feel like a fucking shell of yourself, and it affects you for the next practice, the next game, where you feel like your ego deflates, all that jazz. You have to prove yourself to fucking do better the next day or all that jazz. That's also not a good thing. You're literally just like battling against yourself at that point. Honestly, if it's affecting you for days after, it's probably even worse. It's probably even worse. Part of it's your identity is just fully tied to the fucking sport. And yeah, whether you're playing AAA or your first year a junior or you're an age out or second year or whatever league you play in from tier 3 all the way to tier 1 or first year in college or last year in college, right? Or you're a pro, right? This is going to be messing with your mind. It's going to be causing a lot of tension in your soul, in your heart, in your jaw. Your nervous system is going to flare up. You feel like you can't rest. And yeah. So who the fuck am I? My name is Mark Sherman. Quick personal background on me. You don't really need to know where I'm from. I'm from Belarus, but my path started from playing single A, double A until I was the age of 15. I had a head injury. I played tier 3 hockey. I went all the way to the D1 level at Boston University in 3 years. I had a commitment at BU by the time I was 18 or 19 years old. I played in the U show. I played at BU. I played at Ohio State. I played at SHU. Now I play in Russia, and I help people basically get to their highest potential and play free. And yeah, I've saved my family hundreds of thousands of dollars, and I help people do the same. If you don't believe me, here's some pictures. Here's me at Florida Development Camp. Here's me at Ohio State versus UConn. Here's me at BU, at the Garden, playing in the Beanpot versus Harvard. And yeah, and I've helped a bunch of other guys like Jackson Karakostas get his full ride to RPI. Aaron Schwartz playing, not only having 81 point season in the BCHL after these great years, but also getting a commitment to QPAC. And then obviously Noah Powell getting drafted and having the most goals in USHL record in one season for the Dubuque Fighting Saints. He got drafted by Philly after working with me. Other younger guys like Dylan Delgado, younger guys, Rickson, Lucas Hood. I've helped so many guys from all sorts of levels, including like Braden Burke. He plays in the OJHL. He's going to be playing U Sports. Reed Calder, he played in the QMJHL. Jackson Priddle, also a Canadian Junior A guy. I've helped tons of guys over the last few years. So listen up, right? Because I know a thing or two. I've done this for 2 years and I've helped a lot of people. So if you're not committed, okay, and you're not putting up at least 0.75 PPG, you're not playing free, and you have a lot of fucks to give, right? This is probably the reason. And the caveat is, if you are committed right now, you're still not safe because there's the fear of getting decoded. There's the fear of not being good enough. That might be rummaging in your mind that you might let get into your heart, which is no bueno. And Murphy's Law states that whatever you fear, you have a higher chance of that manifesting, right? You don't have to believe me on that because it's simply a universal law. It's simply a fact. And I know this because a lot of guys who are committed before the CHL rule, or even now, they come to me to work with me because they still are not hitting their full potential, and they want to work with me to make sure that they, ensure that all the hard work they have done doesn't go to fucking shit, and they can still perform at the highest ability and play free, right? Because it's one thing to get a commitment, fellas, right? It's one thing to get that little commitment you can post on your fucking Instagram. It's another thing to go out and actually get to the team, right? And actually get the NLI or NIL, I think it's called, yeah, NIL. And not trying to get your shit taken by some guy from Sweden or some fucking kid in the CHL, right? It's a crazy world out there. It's a crazy world. There's a lot of fucked up shit happening in the hockey world. But you got to worry about yourself, man. So people want to get that insurance. So here's how it works, guys. I want to explain to you the surface level stuff, and we're going to go down to the deeper meaning and then the core. Because really, at the end of the day, it really looks like this, okay? The pattern looks like this, where at the bottom, at the top, there's all these surface level shits, right? The surface level stuff, and then we get to a deeper meaning behind these surface level fears. And then we get to the core, the bottom core of why you are playing in fear, why you're overthinking, all that jazz. Okay, so at the surface level, it's very simple stuff. It's like, oh, I don't want to get worried. I don't want to get yelled at. You have a fear of getting yelled at by the coach. Okay, you have possibly a fear of making a mistake. That's the biggest one. You fear making a mistake. You fear if you're a D-man or you're a forward, doesn't matter. You have a pizza, turning it over, the other team scoring on you, blah, blah, blah. Okay, fear of getting hit, right? Fear of getting re-injured. The fear of not being able to reach your true full potential. That's a big one I hear all the time. Been on calls with so many people. And then the fear of just not being able to produce. Right? These are all surface level shits. This is not the real fear. Okay? The reason why it's not the real fear is because these surface level shits, okay, they go deeper into a deeper meaning. Okay? And the reason why you have a fear of getting yelled at, or the fear of making a mistake, or the fear of getting hit. Let's talk about the fear of getting yelled at and then making a mistake and not being able to produce, okay? That means, because if you do that, you're going to lose minutes, you're going to get benched, okay? You're going to get yelled at, you're going to have your identity fucking compromised, you're going to get less minutes. If you do that over and over and over, you're going to play less, and how the fuck are you going to get to the next level if you're playing less minutes, not let alone not being able to produce because you're playing less minutes, right? So this fear of making a mistake and this fear of getting yelled at, okay, or the fear of disappointing somebody, ultimately leads you to, oh my God, I don't want to lose minutes. I don't want to get benched. I don't want to disappoint my teammates. I don't want to disappoint my coach, my parents. And at the core, I don't want to get disappointed. I don't want to disappoint myself, right? So then we go to the other surface level stuff like the fear of getting hit or re-injured, okay? And then the deeper meaning behind that is like, oh, well, if I get injured, I have to sit out. There's no more hockey. I don't know what to do. I won't be able to skate. I'm going to have to struggle more. I'm going to be depressed. I'm going to have nothing to do. Who the fuck am I going to be, right? And then that's not good, right? And then if you get hit and injured, you're going to get embarrassed. You might get re-injured, right? And the whole cycle continues, right? You guys seeing the pattern now. And guys, what happens if you're not able to play those deeper minutes, right? You get less minutes, you produce less, you don't move up to the next level, right? What happens at the deeper level, right? It's obviously disappointing yourself, disappointing your coach and your parents and your teammates, right? So, and guys, this is not a one. This is like not a one thing fits all. I don't know if that's a fucking saying, but it's more so like these are possible things. So you don't have to have all of these things, but if you have a couple of these, it's gonna really hold you back. At the core, guys, I want you to understand. At the very core, it's genuinely not being able to feel like you're good enough to play with the top dogs. Okay? It's the fear of not being worthy enough to do that. It's the fear of not being able to save your parents the money. Okay? It's the fear of not being able to make it to the D1 level or the pro level or whatever level you want to get to and having to quit. That's the deeper core, right? So it all stems from, oh, I don't want to make a mistake. I have this fear of making a mistake, which manifests as the surface level. But deep down, the real core is that, yo, if I'm not good enough to make it, then fuck, fuck. And that's a scary thing to think about. You don't want to think about those things because that's how fear starts to come. But the reason why the fear started in the first place is because this thought popped up in your head, one of these, right? Or one of these, or one of these, okay? And you did nothing about it. You just kind of let it rummage in your head and you ignored it, right? And then what happens is that thought goes down into your subconscious mind, which is the mainframe, the 95% of everything, the feeling of confidence, the trust in your ability, the day-to-day actions, the confidence, all that jazz. This thought, these surface level, deeper meaning fears, okay, they seep down into your subconscious mind because you ignored them. And you ignore them for a couple days or a couple weeks or a couple months and a couple years. And that fear becomes bigger and bigger and bigger. Okay? And to the point where your identity becomes one thing and you put so much pressure on yourself, you get so down on yourself, right, that it kills you. It really starts killing you. It starts eating you alive internally. And what hurts more is your soul and your heart, which is where the subconscious mind lies. Not many people understand that the subconscious mind lies in the heart. It lies within, and within the heart is connected to the nervous system. So the subconscious mind, the heart, the nervous system, it's all connected, right? That state of fight or flight in games where you freeze up or you feel like you can't do anything and you know what I mean? You start freaking out, right? Because you put so much pressure on yourself. That's the shit that's connected, right? And that stems from this fear. And so guys, sorry for not having diagrams and shit. I'm just trying to make this video to educate people. I'm not a freaking influencer. I'm just a professional hockey player and somebody who never had a mentor as a kid. And I had to figure out all this shit on my own. And it took years off my career. And now I've cracked the code and I want to help as many people as possible. So diagrams may be coming soon as I figure out this YouTube shit. But for now, you're getting classic Google Docs, okay? But going back, and there's a certain percentage of you, right, when you get so used to this suffering and pain, you get so used to thinking the idea that pain is gain. No pain, no gain. Yes, to a certain extent, no pain, no gain. But what happens is we get used to the suffering and the pain and the burnout, okay? And instead of moving away from it, we manifest more of the same shit to keep putting us in a low-level frequency. The reason for this is when you have something bad happen to you or when you have more suffering, more pain, it's an emotional event. The subconscious is programmed by emotion and repetition. More importantly, it's programmed by emotion. So when you have something that becomes very large, like you fucked up, you didn't, you got scored on, you were the reason why your team lost, blah, blah, blah. It creates a very large memory of, it's a traumatic memory, okay? And if you don't do anything about that to clear that, it turns into like basically an old self frequency and it turns into a lot of pain, okay? Now this happens many times, right, for you over the course of your career through adversity. And eventually the adversity takes over too much and it creates something called an old self. And the old self feeds off of things like guilt, jealousy, low levels of fear, worry, all that jazz, right? That's what the old self feeds off of. And that keeps you stuck in that fear and struggle and pain. So honestly, at a certain point, you're like, dude, I don't want to deal with this fear anymore. And you try to break out of that fear matrix. And there's the old self right there fucking with you, creating stuff in your reality to bring you down, to give you more adversity, to make you feel more pain, because that's your core. Like your core is pain, suffering. That's what I got to do to get to the next level. Right? And that's a bad situation. I've been there. I've been there for many years without even knowing. I've gone to the next level with that feeling. And what I'll tell you that is like, it's just not sustainable. That level is not sustainable. It will eat at your soul every time. And there's going to be a couple of you who are strong enough to push through. But regardless, you're going to be still playing in fear. You're going to be still playing in worry. You're going to be still worried if it's all worth it. Unfortunately, guys, hockey is a pendulum filled with a lot of fear and a very worrisome culture, a lot of power dynamics with coaches and GMs, and it's a business. It's a business, and we get thrown into it at a young age, you know. And the guys who win make it far. Okay, these guys work hard, they have discipline, but they also have a very high level of not giving a fuck. And most of you guys don't know how to not give a fuck because you have all these subconscious fears. Okay, and you can consciously start not giving a fuck and just telling yourself, you know, I don't give a fuck, right? You can do that, right? Subconsciously, you still will freeze up. You still will not perform. You will still fall back to these old tendencies of survival, of getting down on yourself, of feeling sorry for yourself. Some of y'all are being a victim, all that jazz, right? And these guys, the winners, they don't let fear get to them. The people who work with me, they don't let fear get to them because they know how to deal with the fear. And what's actually happening on a spiritual level, because guys, there's 3 planes to existence. There's the physical, what we live in. There's the mental, right, up here, and there's the spiritual, aka if you want to go through the heart, right? What happens is the soul is trying to get free, okay? But the mind and the ego won't let the soul be free because we've created these things that we have to get these goals. We have to do this, we have to do that. What's going to happen if we don't? We're going to get judged. We're going to get this, our parents, money, all this just society. Fuck, I got to get to this junior league. If not, I'm fucked, right? It creates all this stuff from the mind and the ego, which is technically the devil, right? This is the enemy, technically, the mind, right? And when you do well, and then you crash, and then you do well again, and you burn, and eventually you either rise above, which is a very low percentage, and it's a very terrible way of living, or you quit, okay? So the biggest fear of all is just not being good enough. Now, when you get rid of this fear, working with a fear removal session, a limiting belief session, when people work with me, we get to the goddamn core so it doesn't become a pattern again. We have to close that loop, right? But when you get rid of this fear properly, okay, you're able to play free because you don't give a fuck consciously. Consciously, you don't give a fuck anymore, which is easy to do. It just becomes a habit. But then subconsciously, you don't have these freeze ups. You don't have these you don't have these big falls and you get scared and you have this fear because subconsciously, internally in your heart, you're genuinely good. Okay? So what happens after that is once you get rid of your fear at the core and you find that worthiness within yourself, you play free. There's no more getting down on yourself because you wouldn't get down on yourself if you truly loved yourself, if you truly knew who you were. There's more energy. Randomly, there's more energy. There's less heavy leg. You don't play with heavy legs anymore. Okay, there's automatic flow state, which is zone 3. We'll talk about zones in a different video. There's a bounce back from mistakes easier. There's less fucks given. You play more for you. You put up more points. Because you don't really care anymore, right? Which all leads to just better performance. Okay, that's the key that we're looking for is that's what you need. Instead of needing the commitment, you need the performance, right? Because if you figure out the freedom in your game, if you figured out the freedom in your soul, that's going to translate to your game, then the performance is going to fucking excel, and then you're going to get the goal eventually because you're performing. Scouts just want performance. Scouts just want consistent performance. The best pros, they're consistently performing. If Nathan MacKinnon wasn't consistently fucking hammering and being a dog on a nightly basis, he wouldn't be worth, $12 million. He'd be worth like 8 because he'd be worth like 7. He's inconsistent, right? But he's worth 12. And that's the difference between you getting a 4-for-4 commitment and you having to go play D3, right? Is the consistency in that. Nothing wrong with D3. It's going to be good too, but it's an analogy, right? And some of you guys are so tied to your goals, right? You're trying to cheat code it. I've done this before. Trust me, I've been in your shoes, brother. Everything you've been through, I've been through. You're trying to cheat code it, okay? You're trying to just like, I'm just going to get to the goal. I'm going to, couple good games, hat trick, couple goals, scout sees me, bam, I'm going to get my commitment. What I'm trying to tell you is like, don't try to cheat code it, okay? You're trying to cheat code it. If it was easy, everybody would go D1. Everyone would save their family $300,000. So this is like part 1 of what I do with all my guys. We basically go underneath and into the subconscious. We figure out the entire pattern that is an issue. We figure out the subconscious patterns. We go back and do a very deep limiting belief fear removal session. I guide you through the whole thing. We get rid of the fear. You find your self-worth and your self-belief in yourself. And just like that, bam, you're a fresh man. And then we make sure we install the protocols to make sure that you make sure that this new pattern, it sticks, right? It doesn't come back, it doesn't keep looping. We make sure you have that consistent flow with you know, affirmations and hypnosis and visualization and stuff like that, and anchoring work and alter ego stuff to make sure that this stuff sticks so we can keep going and keep going and going. So if you want to learn about how you can get rid of these fears and access your true full potential and play in that zone 3 and 4 where you're playing free, you're playing with swagger, you're playing with that elite level of not giving a fuck, to help you get those commitments and accolades and all that shit that really doesn't matter. If you want to learn how to do that, you can basically go to my website, topghockey.com. It'll be basically linked down here. You can then apply down here. Okay, it takes like 2 minutes, and then if you are a good fit, it will allow you to book a call with me. And then we can hop on a call. I don't accept everyone. I have limited spots. I do have a qualification process just because I cannot help everybody who books a call with me. There's been hella people booking calls with me lately. But if you do qualify, we'll hop on. I'll help you, give you more clarity about what your situation is. Because this stuff, sometimes some of the stuff that I talked about here could be just a basic level case. You know, there's this stuff goes deeper. But yeah, I'll help you out and see if we can, you know, if we're a good fit to work together. So cheers, guys. Link is down below. Instagram is also down below. And thanks for watching. Cheers.